What's good, everybody? This is part 4 of class 12, What is Marketing? And today we'll be covering paid ads. As I stated in part 3, I will be posting some tutorials. I'll have a tutorial for email and SMS marketing, and I'll also create a tutorial for paid ads and show you how they work together. Let's get straight to it. Today, we will discuss why you should be using paid ads, the pros and cons of using paid ads, and lastly, a few tips, which is a little bit more like guidelines that you should follow when running ads. Let's move on to our first slide. So there is a 99.9% chance you have encountered an ad while using one of these platforms. There's also a high probability that you yourself have ran an ad campaign while using one of these platforms. Paid advertisements are the most efficient means for quickly spreading awareness of your brand and generating a massive following. You can expose your brand to crowds of people you otherwise wouldn't be able to reach or would have struggled to reach organically. Honestly speaking, out of all the concepts and various forms of marketing, paid advertisements is the easiest one. You can use an existing piece of content or create a new piece of content. You pay the platform that you want to gain visibility on, and you get views. However, like all things, there are some pros and there are some cons. Let's knock those out of the way and we'll discuss some more. Starting off with the pros, point number 1, you will quickly gain exposure. It is faster than organic views. Organic views simply means views that you received without any additional promotion. This is when you put out a piece of content and you allow that platform's algorithm to take your video as far as it can go. With paid ads, we can push that even further, which brings us to point number 2. You can target your audience. There are multiple parameters that you can modify that will allow you to hone in on an audience that you want to reach. Which brings us to point number 3. Inevitably, you will increase the visibility of your brand. Moving on to the cons, starting with number 1, unfortunately, ads can be costly and they typically require you to do some budgeting. Depending on the platform that you're using, price for paid advertisements can fluctuate. Also, every paid ad is not the same, nor are they equal. There can be a time where you run an ad for $100 and you get 10,000 views. The next time you go to run that ad with the same budget, you may only receive 4,000 views. 2 of the main reasons why: 1, people like the content of your first ad more than they like the content of your second one. Or number 2, you made an error while modifying the parameters. You may have picked the wrong region. You may have spread yourself too thin and tried to reach too large of an audience, or you simply didn't allow your ad to run for a long enough time. All of which brings us to point number 2. There is potential for a low ROI or return on investment. You may not always achieve your desired result. You may not get the number of followers you want. You may not get the number of profile visits you want, or maybe not as many people inquired about your music as you would have liked. Whatever the case may be, you have to remember, as a relatively new artist, or at least new in the commercial space, people are largely unfamiliar with your brand. There are no guarantees that people will engage with your ads. Which brings us to our last point. Paid ads are highly competitive. Everybody's doing it. Now, don't let that last point discourage you. Just because other artists or other people within the music business are running ads, you should never feel discouraged to run your own ad campaign. I can all but guarantee you that if you were to turn on your TV, you would see an advertisement for McDonald's, Wendy's, Burger King, Chick-fil-A, and every other fast food spot in the world. All of them are running ads simultaneously, yet everybody's brand is unique and different from one another's, and all of the companies are multi-billion-dollar corporations. The same goes for shoes, alcoholic beverages, and essentially every other industry in the world. Ads are competitive because they are effective when done right. Let's go on to our next slide. Paid ads have their pros and cons. Nonetheless, they are an essential component of every successful marketing campaign. All practitioners of the music business should be using them. However, there are a few factors that one should take into consideration every time they launch their campaign. Specifically, your goal and your budget. Every time you launch an ad campaign, you should know exactly what it is you want to achieve. Do you want more followers and subscribers? Do you want people to sign up for your email and SMS list? Do you want website visits? Or for people to visit the DSP where they can stream your music? you need to be clear and concise about your goal and why you're running your ad campaign. And of equal importance, you should know what your budget is. Your budget will largely determine the duration of time that you run your ad, as well as the feasibility of you reaching your goal. Here's why. If you have the budget of $100 to spend on an ad, you can spend that budget in one day or over the course of 100 days. Here's the thing. Depending on the platform that you're running your ad, they may let you get by with spending as little as $1 a day. And depending on the number of people you want to reach, some platforms can cost you $100 a day. In either case, you would essentially be handing over your money to the platform that you want to run an ad on. Let's use Instagram as an example. If I had a budget of $100 and I was going to spend it in one day, Instagram may give me an estimate of reaching 10,000 people. Now, if I only wanted to spend $1 a day and stretch the ad over the course of 100 days, Instagram may still give me an estimate of 10,000 people. Here's the problem. There is no guarantee that I will reach 10,000 people in one day of advertisements, nor is there any guarantee that I will reach 10,000 people with 100 days of advertisements. Now, you may be thinking, why is that? Well, advertisements are a pay-to-play game. There are other factors that one should take into consideration that largely affect whether or not you win that game. The most important factor being human nature, which is actually what we discussed when we talked about the cons of paid ads. For one, there is no guarantee that people will like your content. Two, people are unfamiliar with your brand, meaning when they see your ad and identify you as an unfamiliar face trying to sell them a product or get information from them, they might scroll by or skip it. Also, there is an algorithm at work on all of these platforms. Take Instagram, for example. If someone sees your ad more than once, they might click on the 3 dots on the upper right side of the video and choose, I do not wish to see this ad, or this ad is irrelevant to me. When running an ad, you must always take into consideration there are people on the other side of the screen. Now let's tie this all together. I mentioned 3 factors in total. 1, your goal. 2, your budget. And 3, human nature. Let's say you have a goal to get 1,000 new subscribers on your email list. A budget of $100 may not do the trick. If you spend that $100 all in the same day, the algorithm may not have enough time to sort out who your target audience is. If you spend $100 over the course of 100 days, which is just $1 a day, the rate at which your ad appears on people's feeds will be very slow, and they may even reject the ad. Your best bet may be spending $100 over the course of 10 days, which is essentially $10 a day. Within those 10 days, the algorithm will have an adequate amount of time to sort out exactly who your target audience is, and you can ensure that a reasonable amount of people will see your ad. But again, we're playing off of human nature. The ad can be performing extremely well over the course of those 10 days. You might get 100 new subscribers to your email list. You may get well over 1,000 likes and over 100 comments. Although that's not bad, that wasn't the initial goal. The initial goal was to get 1,000 new subscribers. To get 1,000 new subscribers, you may have to spend $400 over the course of 20, 30, or even 40 days. Now, to be clear here, I'm not soliciting advice to you. Every ad is different. None of these figures can be quantified, nor treated as facts. You can put out a piece of content and organically reach 1 million views. And so long as you created a prompt in that video, people may go sign up for your email list without you paying a single dollar. So just remember, take these 3 things into consideration at all times. When you run an ad, you should know your goal, you should have a budget, and you should be aware that you are dealing with human nature and that there are people on the other side of the screen. So before we peace out for this lesson, I'm going to give you a couple of tips. You can refer back to these when you're running an ad on any platform. Point number 1, you should create a data sheet with your most current analytics report and apply the information to your ad parameters. To do this, using a pen and a pad, the Notes app on your cell phone, or if you absolutely must, you can use an Excel sheet. You need to analyze the platforms that you perform the best on and document the analytics. For example, if you're on Spotify, take a look at the top cities where your music is played the most. Write those cities down. Then do the same for the social media platform that you're on. Go to Instagram or TikTok, Facebook maybe, whichever platforms you're doing the best on. Go to your dashboard, view the analytics, and write down the cities where your content has the most reach. Here's another one for your social media platforms. Add the general age range of your audience. It may be people between the ages of 25 and 54 who view your content the most. It'll vary per person. Also, if you can, take into consideration the gender. Lastly, take into account your highest performing content on each platform you use. Now that you have a data sheet with all the current analytics, you can create your own budget, then invest your money into an ad for your best performing content. Now let me be clear here. You only need to boost the content on one platform at a time. Unless you have the money to, I would not advise investing in more to one platform at a time. So maybe you just want to use Instagram, or maybe you just want to use Facebook or TikTok. Pick one platform and one piece of content. Next, you are going to take all of the data with your current analytics and use it to run an ad on that one piece of content that you want to promote. Now, preferably, you should boost the content that has already had some moderate to good success on the algorithm and got you some organic views or followers. And lastly, every platform will have some form of call to action button. Within that button, you can direct the flow of traffic to your website, a landing page. You can add a link with your music video or your songs on a streaming platform, or direct that traffic straight to your profile. Now, if you haven't noticed, we hit all three factors. You have your goals set in mind. You used your analytics to see which posts performed the best, as well as which cities and which countries your content was performing well in, all of which is a reflection of people's human nature and what their interest is. And with those two, you can create a budget for yourself. Like every other aspect of business and marketing, paid ads is definitely a skill to be learned, and you should take your time to be clear about what your goals are when you start an ad campaign. We're going to cover this information again in the tutorial. For now, that is it for today's class, and that concludes class number 12 of What is Marketing. As always, if you have any questions, leave them in the comment section below. And if you have any additional information that you can share, please drop that in the comments as well. This is a community. We are here to help each other learn and grow. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next class.